Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 28 of the Finger Lakes Golfer Podcast on FingerLakes1.tv and YouTube, recorded live on Monday evening, June 22nd, 2015. It's a special U.S. Open recap edition. I'm your host, Jim Sinicropi, and it's great to have my co-host, the Big Easy, Bob LaPrade, alongside a man who recently played the U.S. Open host course at Chambers Bay in Washington State, Rhett Ticconi, back for a second straight week, and our resident PGA Tour analyst and four-time club champ, Doug Brown's back in studio with us. So stay with us for the next hour where we'll recap a wild weekend out west at Chambers Bay. We've got tons to cover with our special roundtable after a highly entertaining and controversial U.S. Open. And we'll also catch you up on the latest local golf news, events, and results. But right off the bat, I'd like to welcome into the show everybody. Here they all are. How you doing, fellas?
Good evening.
Good.
What's going
on? Doug, thanks for coming back up.
Thanks for inviting me.
And Rhett, thanks for coming back up for a second straight week.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
So, Bob and I played a 18-holer yesterday afternoon before the final round. We were both really excited to get home and watch some primetime major championship golf. And I guess right off the bat, can any of you guys believe that Dustin Johnson three-putted on 18?
Yes.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, it was tough to watch.
I mean, I was thinking either Dustin Johnson wins the U.S. Open or we got a Monday playoff between Dustin Johnson and Jordan Spieth, which would have been phenomenal.
That would have been what it was about.
But yeah, he three-putted it, and that just goes to show you that same type of thing happens to us on Sunday mornings or Wednesday nights down at the club, and it happens at the highest level.
Right.
And would you guys consider that a choke?
Well, he played flawlessly, I thought, during the first three rounds up to that point.
Well, he missed 5 putts inside 10 feet on the back nine.
Yeah.
So he did play flawlessly. He didn't capitalize on it. He should have won going away, I think.
Yeah, but even before that day, the first three rounds were really, really good for him. What was it, Friday he hit all his greens? Or no, Saturday. Saturday he hit all the fairways.
Yeah.
Hit all his fairways.
Tough to call it a choke. He did birdie 17.
Right.
After Spieth, after knowing what Spieth had just done. Spieth had just doubled that, so he knows he has to birdie to come in the chance to win or tie.
And he puts himself in a chance to two-putt for birdie.
Right. So
from 15 feet.
Right.
For 20 minutes there, he's all about making it happen, and he just missed that putt.
Yeah, that choke word's tough
Yeah.
to lay on a professional athlete.
Yeah.
I think we'd all like to have that opportunity. Walk off with $800,000 because I choked.
Right.
Yeah.
Although I lost the tournament as well. But
Now, I think they might have said it even more so had Spieth not won and Dustin Johnson made that putt.
yeah.
They would have said that Spieth would have choked it away because of what he did on 17.
That's true.
I think if Dustin makes the putt for eagle, we don't talk about Jordan making double bogey. I think it goes away.
Right.
Because it would have been overwhelmed by the eagle putt to
That's
win
true.
the U.S. Open.
No, I think Spieth said it best is that he choked, but then he had a chance to redeem himself.
did.
Dustin Johnson, it was over, no chance to kind of recover. And
Right.
It is tough to say you come in second in the U.S. Open with the greatest golfers in the world that you choked, but at the end of the day, you give anybody on tour 2 putts to win, or 1 putt to win, 2 putts to force an 18-hole playoff, and not many of them are going to three-jack that one.
Right.
That's the first putt. I don't know if you could look at the first putt as, I mean, that was a tough putt.
Right.
On any
Yeah.
greens, no less the greens that we've been talking about for 4 or 5 days.
Right.
So that one, that could have gone either way, no matter who's putting that. If Jack's putting that, he could have missed that, But the second one, that was a little close.
Yeah.
You'd like to think he could have got that done for the playoff.
Right.
The first one looked like even if he just nudged it, it was going to go 3 foot by.
Right.
Looked like quite a slope there, which kind of surprised the ball stayed there on the second shot.
Yeah.
But I think it would have got by the pin no matter what, unless it went in.
Right.
So, but he's going to be with a 3 or 4 footer no matter what.
Yeah.
Which is not his
Not as easy.
strong suit.
And he
So,
tugged it just a little,
yeah,
just enough.
Yep.
he missed left and right in that back nine.
Yeah, it
His
seemed
putts.
like every other putt was pushed or pulled.
Yeah.
And then the one on 17, he did hit dead center.
Yeah.
And you kind of were shocked that he made that one based on what he was doing before
Right.
that.
Yep.
Well, the Dustin Johnson choke, not the only thing to talk about, or choke or non-choke, however you want to kind of interpret it, but let's talk about the champ first. Jordan Spieth, youngest player to win the Open since Bobby Jones in 1923, so he's done something Tiger Woods has never done, or he was younger than Tiger when Tiger won his first Open. Youngest to win 2 career majors since Gene Sarazen in 1922, so another, one up on Tiger, I suppose. When we talk about how nobody's ever going to be as good as Tiger ever was, well, here's a kid younger that's done 2 things that Tiger didn't do by that age. Second player since 1940 to win 4 times on the tour before the age of 22. 16th player to win the Masters and the U.S. Open in the same year. Or no, overall, just to win them, both those tournaments. Only 16 players in the history of the game have won both those tournaments. And the 5th player in history to win the Masters and U.S. Open to open the season.
Last since Tiger, right? Tiger was the last one. 2, I think.
Yeah, no, Rory didn't do it, right?
Tiger was last.
You think about Tiger, though, when you say how Spieth's the youngest to win the Open and the Masters. Tiger kind of disappeared for a couple years after he won that Masters. Not that he disappeared, but he didn't win much, and he didn't win until he won the PGA in '99. So he went like eight majors before he won again.
And then that's when he started winning them all.
Then he went on the run.
Yeah.
But, Spieth now is in his, second full year, and he's won 4 times, and 2 of them are majors. That's
Right. Yeah.
He's kind of ahead of the game here.
Right.
And with his demeanor and his approach, the sky's the limit. He's going to be in contention in every big tournament. He doesn't it doesn't seem to me to be the kind of guy that's going to have just fall off the face of the earth and miss a cut or something.
Right.
And so that lends to the question: how is he going to do at St. Andrews for the British? Does he have a legitimate shot at the Grand Slam, Bob?
I think he does. Sure. Why not?
We talked about it after the Masters. We thought he did then. Now he's won the U.S. Open.
Right. Yeah, I think he has everything in his arsenal to be able to play anywhere. It's at St. Andrews this year? Yeah. So I think he can hit the shots. He can make things happen. Look at the PGA Championship. He wasn't on the radar on that last day, but he worked himself into a point where he started getting coverage because he started playing well.
Yeah, well, we're going from a links course to a links course, which is odd. And
Right. Yeah.
I don't know yet if Jordan Spieth specializes in links golf because he's so young. We haven't seen yet. But Bob? How about a percentage on the Grand Slam at this point for Spieth?
Grand Slam is not too many players have done it.
No, but he's halfway home.
Yeah, he's halfway there. Jeez,
We had a
it's
Triple
tough.
Crown horse
it's
this year.
golf, so I would say 30% maybe at this point.
Imagine if you have both.
A Triple Crown and a Grand Slam.
That would be great.
The Grand Slam would be even more impressive. Doug,
Yeah.
what if you had to give it a percentage
I got to
right
ask
now?
Bob. Not too many people won the Grand Slam. How many have?
Well, we have in the same year.
Sure, the true Grand Slam,
in
not the
same
Tiger
year,
Slam.
I would say Hogan's done it. No.
You're talking about career.
No. I'm talking.
Well, I want to
same
know
year.
natural
Same
1-year
year.
Grand Slam, not career Grand Slam, not Tiger Slam.
I would have to go with same year. I don't know. I need some help.
Well, the answer is 0.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. All right.
Now, Bobby, what about Bobby Jones?
He didn't.
Yeah, but it was different
It
for
was a
tournaments.
different
but-
Grand Slam,
So in
right.
that case, it's 1.
Right.
Yeah.
2 amateurs and 2 opens.
He's the one that they kind of give credit to.
Yes.
But for the
But
the
no one's done it
professional-
in the same year, right?
modern day.
Well, Bobby Jones only gets credit for it back whenever.
How about
1935 or whatever.
How about Grand Slam period?
Well, there's Nicklaus, Player, Tiger.
Career Grand Slam.
Arnold.
Arnold did not win the Grand Slam.
Oh, that's right. He did not win.
He didn't win a PGA.
He didn't win a PGA.
No Trevino.
Trevino did not.
McIlroy's getting close.
One more.
Mickelson needs the U.S. Open. There's a lot of guys, I guess, with 3 that are even still active.
Wow, that's
Watson? No, Watson
interesting
didn't.
when you
Watson
think
did not.
about it. That's interesting, really.
Well, it's very hard to do.
Gene
And
Yeah.
Sarazen won it, the Grand Slam.
Sarazen. What
Yeah.
about
Sam
Hogan?
Snead did not.
Snead? I was going to ask you Snead.
No, he choked on the U.S. Open. He missed like a 1-foot putt at the U.S. Open and got beaten in a playoff the next day by I don't know, like Ed Fergal or something like that.
What about Nelson?
Barry Nelson did not. Well, good question. He might have.
he certainly won a lot of tournaments. You would
Yeah.
think that he might have, but
Right.
But it's amazing, I guess, that we're talking about somebody with a chance to do this, and it's not Rory McIlroy and it's not Tiger Woods. And we'll talk about Tiger a little later. But this Spieth kid kind of came onto the scene, and he's definitely here to stay. He's got a great demeanor, a great support system, a great caddy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. They seem to get along great.
Yeah.
He's halfway there, so I mean.
Think about 10 years ago, nobody was talking about anything but Tiger, and nobody will ever come close to this guy. And now we have 2, 3, 4 guys that might, make a name for themselves for sure.
For sure.
I mean, Rory's already there, basically, other than he's got to get that Masters. But it's just crazy to think how things have changed since 2008 when he won that Open. You were thinking he's winning 5, 6, 7, 8 more majors. He hasn't won a major since.
Right.
I think with Rory Style, or I'm sorry, Jordan Style, you got to consider him having a chance to win both of those events coming up. He seems to, he doesn't make double bogeys and triple bogeys.
Yeah.
Nicholas used to have a philosophy: let everybody else fall apart.
Sure.
And I'll just beat him because I play smart or whatever. He's kind of in that vein without shooting even par. He'll shoot under par, but he might not shoot 60.
Right.
But he's not going to shoot 78.
And that really lends itself to major championship golf.
You got to hang around till Sunday, and he kind of did yesterday, just that way, kind of in a sense.
Well, in the tournament, he was up in the top 5 in greens and regulation. He was 15th in putting, 59th in driving distance, and 68th in driving accuracy.
Yeah.
So he's just getting it around the course and making his putts.
So, at 59th, what's he, 10 yards behind the leader? Or?
So he was, his average driving distance was 296. Adam Scott was number 1 at 337.
Wow, Adam Scott.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, if you bet me money, I would have said you were wrong.
Yeah, I know. DJ was 332. He was 3rd.
Well, Scott finished tied for 4th. That's the other thing. It's sometimes you watch these majors all week, and then you look at the final leaderboard, and you're like, wow, Adam Scott, came in 4th place. And
wow.
Behind Johnson, Spieth, and Oosthuizen, who was
just
incredible.
How about that? How about him? The worst group of the day on Thursday.
Right.
He was the best number at 77.
I guess sometimes it just clicks, and really, Oosthuizen could be saying, this was, I had this. This was my shot to win.
They were showing, I don't know if you guys saw it, they were showing some of the records he had for the 3 rounds after the first round. He had a bunch of records that he racked up yesterday.
Yeah, he was with Fowler and Woods, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
77 was the best of the day.
Yeah.
Opening round 77, final round 67.
Crazy.
5
straight.
29 on the inward 9.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
5 straight birdies.
Yeah.
One was on
Incredible.
the fairway.
Which you're not supposed to do on this course.
It just shows that you can grind it out, never give up, right?
Right.
I mean, at that point, you're thinking after that round with Woods and Fowler, you're like,
Yeah, he's just
let me see if I can make
play
the
it
cut.
out.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Well, what about, speaking of grinding out, what about Jason Day?
Oh, yeah.
All week long, we're hearing about the vertigo and the, he collapses after the first round or during the first round, last hole, and he grinds out, shoot even par, and when things like that happen, it's a little frustrating as a viewer, only because it's certainly was engaging to watch him, because you never know if he's just going to drop, and it was made for interesting viewing, but it's also just a little disappointing because you wonder what this guy could do if he didn't have that issue.
Right, yeah. It's certainly, something like vertigo's got to affect your balance, and balance is a very important part of golf. I think everybody would agree. And when you have vertigo, I've had vertigo before, under different circumstances, and I couldn't imagine trying to do something that's balance related with vertigo.
That's the worst course he could have been on for the situation he had.
Oh, I agree with those slopes.
Oh my God. The absolute worst course he could have been playing for those symptoms.
And you would know.
Yes, it was a very
Played
long.
it a year ago.
It was a very long walk, probably longer than it should have been.
Well, let's talk about it then, because the big story is players didn't. Let me read some quotes here for you about the golf course. Gary Player described it as the most unpleasant golf tournament I've seen in my life. Henrik Stenson said the greens were like putting on broccoli. Lee Westwood said, my main criticism of the golf course this week is that it's a pretty solid test, fair in most places, so why bother tricking it up and changing holes around and the pars on holes and things like that? Just lay out a golf course, let everyone play it, see who comes out on top. Billy Horschel, who had a moment
A moment or two.
Yeah.
Worst rolling greens I've ever putted on. Nothing comes anything close to this week.
He lost a lot of respect for the USGA, he said.
Well, what do you think, Rhett? I mean, when you played there, the greens were probably better than they were during the U.S. Open, actually.
I played it in March, so it was a little greener. It was kind of coming out of the rainy season, so it was it rolled a lot truer. It wasn't the pole wasn't an issue really, but I didn't have a problem with the greens as much as the change into the 1 and 18s.
Yeah,
I just thought that
what's
that
the
was
point?
That part of it. Leave 18 as a par 5 and leave number 1 as a par 4 and play golf. The greens, everybody's putting on them.
But
Billy Horschel, though. I mean, I know he won the FedEx Cup last year, but come on, buddy.
Well, what he's talking about, too, is that Billy Horschel, after one of the holes, slammed his putter into the green.
Yeah.
And now it's funny because on the coverage, you couldn't see if he, buried it in the green or what.
Yeah.
It almost looks like he hit it flat, so it didn't maybe do any damage. But first of all, does Billy Horschel deserve a fine, Doug, for that?
I didn't see him hit the green. I read about that in this morning's newspaper.
I saw the
I saw
video.
when he took his hand and when he waved the
Yeah, he
it was
did.
kind of like doing Plinko going to the hall.
Well, he took his
kinda dancing around.
took his putter and he slammed it on the green like that hard. Now, but the funny thing about it was there was a Fox graphic covering where his putter actually hit the green,
Yeah.
so you couldn't tell if he. I mean, it looked like he buried it, but I would like to think he didn't. I would like to think he just did it so the flat
Right.
part of his bottom of his putter just kind of hit it.
Yeah.
But did you see it, Bob?
Yeah, I did see it, and you couldn't really tell if there was any damage done to the green. I woke up this morning, and one thing that I read USA Today's some person wrote up a write-up of the tournament, and I kind of agreed with it, is when the course is getting more publicity than the actual tournament or the players, there's a problem.
Yeah.
That's true.
Why? My opinion is why can't these guys have a challenging putting experience without the greens being green? I mean, the Masters seems to do okay. That those are fast greens, those are challenging, and I think these greens could have been very challenging and been green and not bumpy. Now,
Well, you'd think, knowing that the U.S. Open's coming, you're going to do anything. That's why it shocks me that they were that bad. And for those of our listeners that might not be familiar with Poana grass, it's on a lot of local courses here in the Finger Lakes.
Mhm.
And what happens is it grows a little faster than your bent grass or your other. Or we don't have much Bermuda, and they certainly didn't have any Bermuda up there at Chambers Bay, but it grows faster than the fescue.
Mhm.
And it also is hardier. So when you get drier conditions and the other grass grows even slower, sometimes burns out, the POA still kind of thrives. And then
Right.
the other thing with POA is it tends to produce seed heads,
Yep.
which make for less than optimal putting.
right.
It's like an obstacle course out there sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, one thing you notice from this coverage that we get from CBS or NBC is sometimes you get the worm can, right? You get a little. I only saw that twice from Fox in the coverage that I watched, and I didn't watch all the coverage. But when they showed it, it was god awful. I could not believe what I was looking at. It looked like there was like moss. It was just sporadic, and it looked terrible.
It's definitely worse later in the day too.
Right,
It seemed
yeah,
like if you got the afternoon tee time Thursday, you were hurting, and the same with, aside from a couple of the guys that went low Thursday to start it out. But then it seemed like it kind of came back to where it wasn't as
Big
bad.
of an issue on Saturday and Sunday.
And Sunday, good for Billy Horschel. He says he could have shot a 62. I'm just still, not gonna. I'm not gonna use him as my guy to whether these greens were bad or not. Spieth made plenty of putts.
Yeah.
Oosthuizen
Oh, yeah.
will probably disagree with him. It's one of those things.
I think one statement from you had a few players say, well, everybody had to putt on it, but that's really not fair because you could have a putt that is much smoother than the next guy, but the same length.
Sure.
So that's my opinion. Make it make it the same for everybody. When it's burnt out in some spots and not, I didn't buy into it.
I watched the Golf Channel highlights, at the end of each night, and when they show like highlight reel or low light reels actually of golfer after golfer missing 2-3 footer, where they hit it hard and it comes up short or plink goes to the right. It's kind of disturbing. It is the same for everybody, and it is something that everybody has to overcome. And the winning score was under par still,
right.
So it wasn't impossible to play. But Brownie, what do you think? What's your opinion on the course conditions, the greens specifically?
I thought the greens were a mess. I have no problem with the layout of the golf course. I have no problem with it being difficult for the pros to play. It should be challenging. But I didn't like the greens at all. They were spotty. I couldn't see where the pin was or the hole was. The white dots was, to me, a circus. There's so many different types of grass out there that they looked sick, almost like spotty, like plaid.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like all the backboards that they were able to play off of. It was kind of a circus out there with some of the shots where you got a professional golfer purposely hitting the ball 30 yards long, because I think the precision was less required to bank it off the backboard. It's just going to come back to the
even
circle.
on 18 for those two
Yeah.
big shots
Yep.
by Spieth and Johnson,
Yeah.
Johnson's almost rolled into the high grass and then came right back around. And
Yeah. I mean, typically you think about it, if there's a little plateau and here's a 10-foot circle and there's a pin on it, they're going to try to hit it to that plateau. That's a small circle to land in. I think with those backboards, it became a bigger circle. And you see a ball roll 50 feet by the pin and then 200 feet back.
Number 12.
One guy hit like 47-yard putt after hitting the green in regulation.
Yep.
From down in front.
yeah.
And plus, I couldn't see the golf ball land on the green.
Well, that was
You
one of the
couldn't
things.
see it
that-
hitting the fairway sometimes.
Yeah, because of the color of the course, and
Yeah.
I was actually
Right.
wishing Fox would do some of that innovative stuff that that they do sometimes. Like in hockey, they used to highlight the puck.
Mm-hmm.
I had trouble picking up the golf
I know.
ball.
Right.
I'm glad
Yeah.
they did the action track as much as they did, so you can see the
Yes.
ball fly.
That was nice.
You know, and I thought the same thing about the hockey puck from years ago, because I couldn't keep track of the golf ball.
When they did the greens, they did the shadows on the greens, but they would take it away. I wish they would have just
Yeah.
left that there
It looked
too.
like
That
a
was
shadow.
You
that
would've
was
been able to see the ball.
fantastic.
That was good.
That was great because you could see the contours. That was innovative. We nobody else has done that, and I thought that's great. I'd like to see that at the Masters,
Yeah.
just to get an idea,
Yes.
of the contours and.
I enjoyed watching Golf Channel on, maybe it was Wednesday, but they would show a pro hitting on the range, and they would show the tracker on every shot he hit,
Right.
and
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
just sit there and watch this guy, whoever it was. He went
Yeah.
hit 3 fades and then 3 draws,
Yeah.
and usually when you're watching guys hit on the range, you don't know where the ball's going,
Right,
on
yeah.
TV when you're watching them on TV.
Right.
So I was kind of mesmerized. I sat there for a couple hours watching Golf Channel show guys on the range.
Yep.
Bob talked about that worm cam view. They didn't have much of that. I don't know how many foot soldiers they had out there because of the difficulty of walking that golf course.
Inaccessible for some fans on some
Because
holes.
they're going to
Yeah.
talk about Fox maybe being good or not so good. CBS might have had the same difficulties because
Yeah.
that was a tough
agree.
course to navigate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about Fox's coverage specifically, but first I just want to ask you guys a question. Not will it, or what will the USGA do, but should the U.S. Open return to Chambers Bay someday, maybe in 2026, when there's a new round of courses being announced here coming up for like 8 to 10 years from now. Rhett, you might be partial, haven't played it, but
Well,
what do you think?
I think the greens are the key. I mean, they'll obviously have a long time before it goes around anyways, but I think the course itself is a great test of golf. I think if they were to change some of those greens and eliminate some of those backboards that make it kind of like Mickey Mouse golf or putt almost, and make it, some of the holes were almost too short. Number 12 was, that was cartoonish. Everybody hitting 3 wooden irons up onto the green and rolling it to the back and bringing it back down. And
Right.
it was great to see. Ricky Fowler almost makes a hole in one and so on and so forth. But who, really should you be making a hole in one on a par 4? But overall, I think it should go back there. One place it would be great to go though too is another course up there is Sahali that they played the PGA on when Singh won it back in '99 or something
Yes.
like that.
Right.
Another great track back out that way. Any course they want to play it on the West Coast, I'm for, because watching golf last night at 11 o'clock at night
Yeah.
was was awesome.
I like the
It
night
is.
coverage.
It was
is
great,
awesome.
right?
It was fun, yeah.
You know?
So, Doug, what do you think? Should the USGA bring it back to Chambers Bay?
I think the only way they could consider it is if they make it more fan-friendly, user-friendly. I think the golf course for the golfers is fine, but I saw some views where the fans seem to be like 4 decks up and 150 yards away from the green.
Yeah.
Nobody was surrounded. The only time I saw the fans split is when Tiger Woods hit the ball in that cart path when he was 100 yards offline.
Yeah, you're right. You never saw that.
Right, and there was a crowd of fans. I think they ran just to get near a golf ball.
Yeah.
Well, those berms, those natural waste areas that they left from when it was a quarry, are so far away from the fairways,
Yeah.
and that's really the only place you can go. You
Yeah.
can't negotiate yourself down to the fairway or real close to it because it's fairway and then it's that all the fescue. There's really no. Yeah, you're right. There's really no place for them to go.
I'd have been upset if I'd have bought a ticket for $1,000 or whatever and had to fly out there and had to walk 9 miles straight uphill to get within 300 yards of a shot.
And you
I would have been livid.
and you can't, you couldn't say, oh, I'm going to follow Adam Scott today and follow his whole round, which some
Yeah.
people, that's what they like to do. They like,
Right.
you
Yeah.
literally can't do it.
Right.
What do you think, Bob? Bring it back to Chambers Bay in 10 years, maybe with some adjustments or?
Yeah, I agree with Doug. The venue's not great from a spectator standpoint. I think you can't blame the course. I think the USGA, again.
Blame the USGA, not the superintendent at Chambers
Well,
Bay.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, the USGA, I think they kind of ruin the experience for the players, and I mean, look at Shinnecock, number 7 that one year?
Where they lost the
yeah,
green.
where they
Yeah.
lost the green in their water and the heck out of it between between groups.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. You can have fast greens and they can be alive,
Mhm.
and it could be a great tournament. Don't screw up the course.
And they've lowered the rough in the recent years at some of these places because of all the complaints for
Right.
like that year at Oakmont when it was
Yeah.
about 2 feet high. It seemed like,
Yeah,
and
chipping
the
sideways.
greens were ultra fast. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a
Well, that's more of what I consider like U.S. Open conditions, though. My thought of it is Chambers Bay. It's a beautiful, beautiful tract of land, and I would love to go play that course. I'm very jealous, Rhett. I would love to go play that course. I can only imagine how much fun it would be to play a course like that in the vistas. But to me, we have the British Open. That's not U.S. golf.
No.
We have U.S. golf. You think of trees, you think of green grass, tree-lined fairways.
Target golf.
Oak Hills of the world.
Yeah, Oak Hills, Oakmonts, Marions, you name it. Even Bethpage and Pebble, American courses. And I would love to see, I don't want to see the USGA never go back to the Pacific Northwest because it's a beautiful part of the country. But like you said, Rhett, there's other great courses there that are more American style with
Torrey.
old Torrey pines. Old. When I think of Pacific Northwest, I think of old 200-year-old pine trees and
Redwoods.
and
Olympic.
yeah. I mean, these are all
Those are
great
the-
courses. There's so many great courses to choose from,
You could have it in San Francisco alone 4 straight years, and
and nobody would complain.
no, it'd be unbelievable courses. You could play Harding Park or somewhere like that, and then Olympic, and go to Pebble.
So I probably wouldn't just because there's so many other great courses, and I would rather see it come back to Oak Hill before it went, or Bethpage even. But it was an interesting U.S. Open, and really unlike any other U.S. Open that I can ever remember seeing. It's almost like we have 2 British Opens this year.
3. Don't forget Whistling Straits.
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah, we got
crazy.
Well, that's true.
PGA's
That is kind
there, yeah.
of similar.
It's a lot. It's lengthy.
Singh won there last time, right?
I believe he did.
Well, talk about Dustin Johnson.
No, that's when Dustin Johnson hit.
Yeah.
No, that was Keimer won it there. Singh won it the
Oh,
time
yeah,
before
yeah.
that. They've
Yeah,
actually
you're
played
right.
it there
Keimer
twice
beat
already.
Bubba Watson in the playoffs.
And
Right,
poor
yeah.
Dustin Johnson had that tournament won until he hit a shot grounded his club in a bunker that
Yeah.
he couldn't even tell was a bunker.
Well,
so
he-
I think
it's-
they called it a waste area to be precise, right?
Yeah.
no,
well,
if
he-
it was a waste area, he could have grounded his club. It was a bunker. You
Bunker.
just couldn't
Oh yeah,
tell.
yeah.
'cause it was
Everything
cramped.
They were all
yeah.
bunkers.
When in doubt, it
Right.
was a bunker.
They
there,
even
right?
gave him the
Yeah.
memo. They were all bunkers.
Yeah.
So all he had to do was bogey that hole, and he would have won the
Yeah,
tournament.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think the U.S. Open should be on a great American course. And while obviously being in America, Chambers Bay is a great American course, it's not a great American style course. And
you get your wish next year, Oakmont.
I know it's
Oakmont.
exciting to even think about. But, with all that being said, it was really engaging television to watch. And
it was
it
great
seems like
theater.
there's always some controversy during the U.S. Open with course conditions. It's not just the one thing. It's not just the greens. It's like you say, the accessibility for the patrons, and just something so different.
I just, what I envision, and I envisioned this last night, is the Europeans were looking at us and laughing like we don't
might have been.
Like we don't know how to control our grass. It's just, it was,
All those other tours across the world want to come to the U.S. to play, and that's what we showed them yesterday.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's a great choice.
Well, some of the biggest complainers, Westwood and what was it, Stenson?
Yeah.
Said it was broccoli. It wasn't green enough to be broccoli. Somebody said it was more like cauliflower.
Yeah.
I forget who said that, but one of the guys said that.
I think it was Rory or somebody said that. Yeah.
Well, either way, it's done. Spieth is a champ. I think we're all happy with the champion it produced.
Yeah,
and that was the other thing that I was going to say is, there was a lot of complaints about this and that, but at the end of the day, going into Sunday, that course produced a lot of drama. That leaderboard heading into the final round was
given the conditions
world-class.
I would want, maybe it would still be Spieth. Maybe it was the same guys. I don't know. But
I guess when it all shakes out, a lot of times it ends up that way.
Well, you see the guys that came on late. I mean, Adam Scott finishes third. Rory made his way up the list. Snedeker came up the list. Schwartzel, they all came from nowhere.
Yeah.
So they all played well on Sunday.
Yeah.
Just a quick question for you guys. Adam Scott finished what, fourth? Right?
Third.
Tied for fourth.
Yeah.
All right, tied for fourth.
With Cameron Smith also
January
Australian.
1st next year, he cannot
no
longer use that putter. How do you think he's going to fare?
So get a face-forward putter.
Perhaps, right? Perhaps.
You're still face-on putting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, are you noticing any improvement over
Absolutely, love it.
You're starting to really...
I got to talk to Adam and convert him.
There you go.
Maybe you could become his putting coach.
There you go, maybe.
When does he stop using the long one? Is he after the majors are over?
Well, January 1st
back.
he's done. But
he went back to it, though. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is, does he... how long does he let it ride? I mean, he's going to have to start practicing with the other putter eventually.
So the new tour will start up for 15-16 is going to start up in October?
Right.
Right, yeah.
They got some fall events, so probably, my guess would be then,
Yeah.
after the tour championship's over.
He's going to start working something else out.
Yeah. It'd be weird seeing him bent back over the putter again.
Yeah.
Well, he might not have to be. The rule is just you don't anchor it, so he could still use some form of a long putter. Yeah.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see what a lot of these guys do. But Kuchar doesn't use a long putter, does he?
No, he anchors it against his arm.
Oh, that's right.
Right here.
So he can't do that either then.
No.
I thought you could. Up the arm, I thought you could.
Well, we'll have to,
Maybe not. Maybe
we'll have
not.
to get a ruling on that one.
All right.
Before we talk about Fox's coverage, and that'll kind of cap off our U.S. Open talk here, we got to talk about Tiger Woods. I mean, heading into the tournament, Rhett, you gave him a dark horse pick.
I was looking at my notes. I'm like, really? Did I pick him for a dark horse?
I've been saying it for the past year that he is done. And, I mean, he shot 76, missed the cut.
Yep.
Hit shots that professional golfers don't hit. And
No.
Doug, I know you're a Tiger fan, so I'm not a big Tiger fan. So I'm going to let you kind of give your thoughts on it because everybody's heard my thoughts on it.
So, yeah, I am a big Tiger fan. I'm disappointed, but you're absolutely right. He's hitting balls 100 yards offline that a professional golfer just can't do it. I mean, a bad day is a 74 for a professional golfer, and he's shooting 85. So right now, to summarize his game, we have an opening in my group on Saturday mornings because Hank Sandless left town. If we were having tryouts, Tiger wouldn't make the cut to play with us on Saturdays.
He might be
and that breaks my heart.
You wouldn't even want him as your
say
partner.
that. So I always thought he'd come to town. We could go downtown, play darts. But I
Go to Perkins.
I think that it's hard to not say he could be done. And I think right now, if I'm accurate in that case, I hope I'm not, but we're going to remember what we see these last couple of years and not the 10 or 12 years of just awesome golfing that he played.
Yeah.
Because he's won everything and all that. Because a lot of times you're remembered for your last little stretch, especially younger kids and all that, they're going to think he's got nothing.
Remember that 3-wood on 18 on Thursday.
And
that's the shot I was talking about.
Unbelievable.
That's like a shot that Bob hits.
Jack Nicklaus, he faded away slowly, but he was still competitive a lot. And that Masters win in '86 wasn't maybe the biggest surprise in the world. It might have been a bit of a surprise, not huge, because he was still playing pretty well. But Jack hit the ball straight.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a guy when he started to fade away that was 48 years old, 46 years old, not 39.
Yes, and this is even maybe the year before that.
Who 2 years ago won 5 tournaments and was
and
number
it was
one
also
in the world.
prior to the time when you had the great equipment to compensate for some of the physical aging effects. That's why you see Tom Watson would have never contended in a major 20 years ago,
right?
Like he did at the British a few years ago. So, like I say, I've been saying, with Tiger, it's up here more than it is anywhere else.
Go back to Butch.
He's got to be scared. You think about he makes contact and he looks up for that golf ball. He's really got to wonder where to look because it's not going straight most of the time. And it goes off to the right. And that one shot that I referred to in that little cart path, 100 yards offline.
That's what people don't realize, I think. It's just how bad some of those shots are. Yeah. They're as bad as when you go and play with a 25 handicapper and he hits a shot and he gets upset with it.
Well, he puts it in the middle of the fairway on 10 on Friday, and he yanks it 40 yards left onto the hill.
Yeah.
Falls down, almost hurts himself trying to get to the ball.
That's what I say. If he's struggling, I keep hearing about my release points or my bottoms and all this kind of stuff he's talking about. You're Tiger Woods. You shouldn't have to talk about any of that kind of good stuff. Even doing adjustments to your swing. Again, a bad round's a 74. You make the cut, you play all weekend, that type of thing, right? He's not a threat. In fact, he's actually dangerous.
He's obsessed
out there. If I was a fan, I would probably make sure I'm standing behind the tee box and not out in the landing area.
Especially
or maybe the landing area is safer. It's the other landing area.
Yes. Move all when he comes to the tee, everybody move to the middle of the fairway.
Absolutely right, because it's safer there, and it's a shame.
He's obsessed with that swing change stuff, though. You never hear anybody else talk about that.
And he's done it 4 or 5 times, and it's the same thing. He's like, when I went through the swing change before, it was this period, and when it kicks in, and we're doing it for a reason. I think he's crazy. I think he's just fooling himself.
When that was going on, though, he wasn't that far off.
No.
Yeah, like Rhett said before the show, he won 5 times 2 years ago.
Yeah, big tournaments, too.
Yeah, no majors, but
Firestone.
He won Firestone.
He was the player
Memorial.
of the year.
Yeah. That was the year he chipped in on the Memorial.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he player of the year. I mean,
he won Arnold and Jack, and
he won all the big ones. But he's won in the Cadillac, I think, at Doral. I think he won that.
I think so too. Yes.
I mean, he dominant year, really, and he was right he came down to the end at the FedEx. I mean, I remember it was in New York City at the second to last tournament before the Tour Championship. He was right in it for that too. Man. He's fallen off the face of the earth.
Well, we're going to talk about Fox coverage coming up, but what I really enjoy the guys on Golf Channel, Nabilo, Chambly, and David Duval now. And I really enjoyed David Duval's take on Tiger because almost a similar thing happened to David Duval. He was number 1 in the world and just seemed like he had his whole career ahead of him, and then just one couple months' time,
got hurt.
Gone. Yeah, never back. His back hurt. But again, Duval, when he commented, he said, "Look, I've been there. I was number 1 player in the world, and when you lose it, you don't know how hard it is to get it back, and it's up here. It's the mental part of it.
You got to be scared to death to think that I'm this good. What am I doing wrong? Every time.
And I've been saying that for a while now because Tiger, every time he stepped on the course, he knew he was better than anybody else. He knew he hit the ball farther. He knew he was a better short game. He knew he was a better putter. And everybody else knew it. So it didn't matter who you were. Everybody was looking for Tiger. Now Tiger steps on the course and he knows he's nowhere. He knows himself that he's nowhere near as good as Jordan Spieth and Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy. And he doesn't know how to compete with that in mind. He doesn't know how to compete without being the favorite.
No, those guys, they were 2 when he won the Masters. And
hey, your son Carter does not remember Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
He knows him and he watches him, but he's a Rory guy now, and that's who he's growing
probably
up
like
with.
Tiger. What's this big fuss about Tiger?
I think was it Sobel might have wrote an article today, but saying the only one that's scared of Tiger Woods right now is Ricky Fowler.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because Ricky was won the Players Championship, and we're picking him now to win. And he was just as bad as Tiger first round. Worse, he's only got to finish behind him first round.
Yeah.
But all the professional golfers will tell you they have a swing they revert to when they're struggling. Even during the round, they make an adjustment and they'll go play a little cut or a little draw or whatever. They all have said
Tiger
that.
used to have that
Right.
stinger.
Apparently that's all escaped him now because whatever he's teaching or being taught, he's trying to do the entire round. And you got to separate the driving range from being a competitor.
Yeah.
You practice over there and you play over there. And even, Jack used to say, I get to the driving range, I'm drawing it, I'm going to play a draw today.
Sure.
Yep.
I don't think Tiger's got that mindset.
No, I think
How to get it around the golf course.
I think Tiger has in his head how he wants to swing.
Yep.
He hires Joe Blow to be his swing instructor, and he tells him what he wants instead of listening to.
Yeah.
Tiger's trying to swing like he did in 2000, and his body's not letting him do
Right.
it.
Well,
He just can't do it.
Right.
You can see how wide open his hips are at impact. He can't do that anymore. He's not that young.
See how far left he was aiming?
Oh yeah.
Most of his shots, he was aiming left rough.
He's
I'm not
trying
sure
to
the club
swing the
face was. I
same
didn't
way
see.
he did in 2000, and it's not going to work.
two guys got
Well-
it done for him: Hank Haney and Butch Harmon.
Right,
Since
yeah.
then, nobody's.
But I guarantee you, if he went to Hank Haney and Butch Harmon right now, they would not tell him to swing like he did
No,
in
they
2000.
would break him down
Yeah.
and totally
Look
rebuild
at Jack
him, but-
Nicklaus when he was 39. The Golf Channel said he lost his swing. He went to his instructor, and said, start from scratch, stance, alignment, grip, teach me how to play golf again. And he won the next year. That's what Tiger needs to do, say, let's start over.
Well, this
I
is what-
can't do what I used to do.
Another good thing on Tiger that Brandel Chambly said was Tiger needs to fire all these coaches, go to the range, put the balls down, hit it himself, figure it out himself, feel it himself without anybody in his ear, and so he can get to the point where he feels he can hit the ball where it needs to go and then get back out there.
Right. But he's got to play. He
Yeah.
just can't go to
Right,
the range and say I'm ready.
And he
Then
can't
come out
take
spray.
breaks. He can't take any more, 2 months breaks. And so I think you gotta give him credit for trying to fight through it, but I just don't see it ever getting better. Like, what happens now when Tiger comes to St. Andrews, a course that used to be just made for him?
Won it twice there.
Yeah. And he shoots an 80 at St. Andrews, and he
Pretty
misses the
wide-
cut at St. Andrews.
Pretty wide fairways to St. Andrews.
Yep,
You know?
and he's not going to be hitting his
So,
stingers
no.
there.
No, but he could hit 2-iron all day there and bounce and bounce and bounce.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for him to be successful, St. Andrews, it probably comes down to the short game.
Yeah.
Miss the bunkers and
And he's chipping great lately.
hit that 2-iron or whatever, 5-wood,
Just
whatever. Well, he's getting 5 chips a hole there. So
We'd all like to be him, but not at the same time, I mean,
Listen,
he's-
Tiger's great for golf, and I'd love to see him do great now. I think it would make it even give that boost to golf, even more.
one more
Just
shot.
one
I
last
feel
little-
I feel bad for him at this point. I just feel,
I don't think I'll ever feel bad for him because I just feel like he was cocky when he was on top. Tough to be when you're not, when you're as good as he was. But it's also kind of annoying to me because now you see him doing more things like signing autographs
yeah.
or
Trying to be
doing these
everybody's buddy.
little public, doing these little PR moments, I guess. And it seems to me ingenuous. And the one last thing on Tiger. He lost. It seems like when he lost his father, he lost his only true friend. And I think that has worn on him too. I think now that things have really gone bad, who does he turn to? His wife. His dad's not there. His wife's estranged, and his coaches have changed so much that has he turned to Chris Cuomo? I mean, who's Tiger's friends?
I don't know.
Nota Begay?
Nota Begay's the only friend that I
Yeah,
have.
and he's the only one. He is always standing up for him on the
Yeah.
telecast.
Yeah.
The rumor is he's getting back with his ex-wife.
What?
That's the rumor.
Bob's got all the rumors. Last
didn't
week
hear
he
that.
said that Tiger Woods was on painkillers.
Well,
Probably still is.
I mean, on his part, I could see why he'd want to get back with her, but
Yeah, why not? I mean, hey, that's his baby's mama.
she's crazy, but maybe not.
So, okay, we're already. We thought we might go over a little bit this week,
Yep.
but how
Bonus
about Fox's coverage? For so long you watch the
Let
U.S.
me-
Open on NBC and you
Let
start
me
to get
sum it
used
up
to
for
it.
you. Let me sum it up. How many times did you guys see a tee shot and the camera would pan and there'd be no ball?
Yeah. look for hours.
You'd be like, I don't see the ball.
And they had 18 million extra cameras out there. I couldn't find the golf
They
ball.
had drones. They had everything out there. And the guy would hit the tee shot and they'd pan across the fairway. And it was like you were with the cameraman. You're like, oh, my God, where is it? You can't find it. And I'm sure the cameraman's like, oh, God, I'm going to lose my job. I can't find this ball.
The graphics and Joe Buck were
The highlights.
Yeah,
I agree.
Everybody else could have won.
I liked Joe Buck. I didn't think he was going to be good, but I thought he was okay.
You know,
He's great.
he's one of those Costas and
Yep.
these
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Tirico.
They can do any
Yeah.
sport, and they do it well. He's really
I liked
good.
Greg Norman, too. I liked his commentary.
I did
didn't
not
like
like
You didn't?
Norman.
Wow,
Because,
I liked
look,
it.
when you got a guy like Johnny Miller who kind of tells it like he thinks he sees it, even if you disagree with him, it's more interesting. Where
That's
Greg
good
Norman's
for
a
golf,
big
too.
yes
Yeah,
man. He's
yeah.
a big yes man. He doesn't
I
want
thought
to
it was
offend
okay.
anybody. They should have got Paul Azinger. You know, he should have
Oh,
been.
yeah, he would have
Well,
said something.
I was texting you last night, Zinger, and it would have been awesome. Somebody needs to bring Fred Couples out onto the golf course and get him to do some commentary. I think he would have been great.
I think you get Ian Poulter in there, you'll get
Wow.
a great show.
Norman didn't want to touch the choke, the quote choke putts.
Oh,
on
that's
that.
true.
He didn't
That's
hear.
true.
He didn't hear from him for like
Yeah,
5 minutes.
And that's the thing is, who would have been better to hear from about that than Greg Norman?
Right. Say,
You
listen,
know?
I've been in this situation. I feel bad for the guy. There's
Yeah.
sometimes there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, maybe they'll coach him a little bit. And here was the worst part of all the coverage. They show Holly Saunders' profile shots
Right.
on all her interviews.
She should have been on the other side, and the player should
And
have been
she
there.
never faced the camera, not once.
Exactly. She didn't.
Not once.
No. I'm like, why are they showing
All
the side of
profile.
her?
What would
Yeah,
be the
it's
benefit?
like, oh, I get to see Holly Saunders' hip.
What would be the
Okay,
benefit,
great.
Bob?
Well, I mean, you know,
Smiling face.
yeah, right. I mean, you get
Okay.
to see her face.
Very nice.
Maybe should have reclined on like a Barca lounger while she
Maybe.
interviewed these
Hey,
guys.
that's fine, but I
They
mean,
say she
that
has
was
great
a
teeth.
terrible call. That was a terrible call. It really was.
But what did you think, Doug, about Fox? You think that they can get better? Or-
I do. I'd like to know if that was held at Oakmont and it was their first one.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd be criticizing Fox.
That's a good point.
I think they did all they could with the land that they were
Yeah,
dealt with on the golf
absolutely.
course, especially for the first one. And then I don't think anybody could have picked up that golf ball. I don't care if it was NBC, BBC,
Right,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. That was the
NASA.
venue.
NASA.
Okay?
They could have had drones, like
Yeah.
the Army drones up
Yeah,
there.
I didn't like the drone that I saw. Mickelson chase one away. I didn't like that concept, but that's okay. I thought Joe Buck did a good job. I didn't enjoy Greg Norman at all. I thought all the other ones good. Corey Pavin should have been in the booth. He'd been a better one.
Instead
than
of out
me.
on the
would have been a
course.
good one, yeah.
He was on the course. He
and
does a
Brad
nice job.
Faxon did
Faxon.
look kind of crappy, didn't
He
he?
let,
Kinda
Faxon was a dud. He was a zero in there, man. They could have done it.
But I can't
Corey
fault-
Pavin definitely would have been better
Yeah,
upstairs.
And they
I
have
can't-
their own version of Faraday out there. I don't even remember the guy's name, but you know,
Yeah.
the token British-speaking
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
or Irish guy.
Well,
One thing I didn't like about the Fox coverage was Thursday and Friday when I got home from work, it was only on channel 400 at home.
yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
Fox
Okay.
Sports One.
So here's the U.S. Open that's only offered on premier stations at that point in time, right? So if
Yeah.
you don't pay for some extra package, and here you are an American citizen, you can't watch that until 8 o'clock at
you
night,
can say
Right.
8 o'clock, right?
okay? Now, on the weekend, it was all on the regular Fox, regular cable, but the primary coverage, most of the coverage Thursday and Friday was on the, I don't know if you call it premier or special
Yeah,
package.
Fox One.
Yeah, and I think that's a mistake. If the USGA is doing that or if Fox is doing that, I think that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Okay, because why? Again, I don't care if you got to pay for something because you live in London, but if you live in
America and
Kansas,
US Open, yeah.
you should be able to watch that event.
Yeah, but between 1 and 8 o'clock at night, what do you mix? You're missing what? Judge Judy and all that other crap that comes on.
Must be they pay more than the rights of the U.S. Open.
Perhaps.
But because I like Brett said earlier, it's awesome to have late coverage.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get out of work and they're just starting.
Yep.
You know, so you could watch golf all night, except for if you didn't have that network, you weren't going to be able to.
Yeah, and if this was also East Coast Open, you would have really been upset when you couldn't find it.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been prime
Yeah.
time at that point in time.
They brought a lot of good stuff to the table, like the graphics and
Yep.
and a lot of different cool camera angles.
I like the
Yeah.
scorecards
The
in the
scorecards,
corner,
yeah.
the little score button.
I hated
Yeah.
that.
You didn't like
You
that?
know
I hated that little blue box.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I kind
Listen,
of liked it.
I think show it every once in a while, but I don't want that thing on my screen when I'm watching. I mean, I only have a 42-incher, and they're taking up,
Sounds time
an
for an
eighth of my
upgrade.
screen with that thing.
But if that was a picture of Holly Saunders, it would have been okay.
As long as it wasn't a profile.
Didn't you like the way they changed the score, though? You could see scores changing as it happened?
fly.
No. Well, all I remember is that corner box taking up the screen, and I'm watching the tournament. I know where people are. Show it every 10 minutes.
55-inch television.
Show it every
bigger
10
TV.
minutes. Don't put that thing in the right-hand corner. CBS does it perfect.
Well, I think CBS does everything perfect in terms of golf coverage,
they
but
do.
Yeah, that's third.
I didn't
Tough to
like
compare.
that box sitting there, and all it showed was, it rotated every once in a while. I didn't like it.
With the coverage with the people they had, though, they didn't have. It's not like they had a ton of people to pick from, though. All the good ones are already on CBS, NBC, ESPN, and ABC.
Yeah.
So,
True.
so they did have limits there, but they'll get better. We got another 11 years of it, so I hope they get better.
You remember Fox's first football game?
Yeah.
It was no picnic.
Right. And they did pretty good. They were dealt a tough hand with the course and having to
Right.
talk about that so much.
yeah, I agree
Trust
with
me,
you
they'll
there.
get
That anytime you do something the first time, every single thing is new. The guys in the truck, it's new. The guys on the air, it's new.
Yeah,
The cameraman, it's new.
They had batteries draining on Friday.
Yeah,
and
and that's the
Saturday,
kind of stuff that you kind of live and learn
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're out there doing a live broadcast of that scope. And so even the conversations between the truck and the camera operators and the NBC, when you ever watch like NBC at the end of last year's Open, they gave a list a mile long of their whole crew saying we want to thank all these guys, and you really build a team.
Yeah.
I mean, Rhett, you and I have done live webcasting
Right.
of local high school basketball, and I know that you felt a lot more comfortable probably your fourth game than you did your first
absolutely.
game.
Well, it's being on this show or anything like that, yeah.
So I think it's that type of situation that'll get better. Maybe Greg Norman gets better. Maybe he looks at how he did and says, "Geez, I got to be a little more opinionated." But I really missed Johnny Miller. I'm not a huge Johnny Miller fan, but every time he talked, you listened to what he had to say because it was usually interesting. So
Right.
So we have, ESPN's out for the Open too, huh?
yeah, this is also a change. NBC has the rights for the British Open, and they paid $50 million more than ABC and ESPN did last year because they're in desperation mode. They lost the U.S. Open.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're losing a lot of their other sports to ESPN and
CBS takes the PGA, right?
in the Masters.
In the Masters, yeah.
So yeah, they overspent, but they'll be back on the scene overseas, and we'll see how that goes. And then, of course, next year Fox will be back in Oakmont, in Pittsburgh, which maybe we can travel to that one. That's a short drive.
I won't tell you that I played that one too.
You did play that
I
one
did.
though, didn't you?
Yes.
This guy
I guess
has
so.
played every course in America.
That one I played a month before the Open,
Wow.
which
Nice.
it was brutal.
Well, get us on. We'll go down next May and we'll play it.
I
We'll,
like
do,
it.
we'll do a live episode from down there.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
place is unbelievable.
And of course, next major, July 13th through 19th is St. Andrews. You play that one, Rhett?
Not yet. The funny thing, I canceled a trip to St. Andrews one time, so that's
Because you probably had to go play Augusta.
no, haven't done that one either. But St. Andrews, that's a regret. My buddy bailed on me, and so I haven't made that trip yet. But we'll do that one of these years, right? We can all get on that one. That's a public course, so
Yeah, we'll just
gotta
get on golfnow.com and
call it
$19?
call a tour
get the hot
operator.
deal.
Good news is though, you're over there. You got to play other courses too. You don't just go and play one round. You know.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, want to remind everybody to subscribe to the Finger Lakes Golfer Podcast on YouTube. Click that red button below on your screen. You can also click the thumbs up button. We'd appreciate it if you are enjoying the show. We're also on iTunes and Stitcher.com and on the FingerLakes1.com app at the Android or Apple Store. All these links, our latest episodes, and complete archives, all available online at fingerlakes1.tv/golfpod. No pick of the week for Bob this week on a special U.S. Open edition, but I do have some local golf news here for you. Not many people noticed after a pretty successful 38-year run in Rochester, the LPGA did not return this year for the major formerly known as the Wegmans LPGA Championship, which Rochester had hosted the LPGA Championship for the last 5 years. Before that, they hosted a tour stop that was considered the fifth major, I guess, on the LPGA Tour. So now the KPMG Women's PGA Championship was contested last weekend at Westchester Country Club, just north of New York City, and I kind of miss being able to go up and see the ladies play, especially now that my daughter's 9 years old and trying to get her into golf. And, you know, I played Locust Hill Country Club a lot. Of course, the tournament moved from Locust. That's where it always was. It was always fun to go see them play at Locust Hill, but it's gone. Sunday qualifier for the 2015 New York State Men's Amateur Championship will be held at the championship site, Cayute Golf Club at Turning Stone on Sunday, July 19th. That's a Sunday qualifier. They have the normal qualifiers, but then they have the Sunday qualifier, so you can get in. There'll be 4 spots available, but you have to register. Registration deadline, when is it? I think it might be this week. But $125 includes a cart, and you can make the 78-player field for the men's AM. The 73rd New York State Junior and Boys Amateur Championship, which will be held at Cedar Lake Club on August 4th and 5th of this year. The entry deadline for that event is this Wednesday, June 24th at 5 o'clock. That's a $50 entry fee. The Finger Lakes qualifier is held at Wayne Hills, Rochester region at Penfield, and the Syracuse region at Links at Erie Village in early July. Go to nysga.org to sign up. The New York State Women's AM and Mid-AM entries close on Wednesday, or actually June 29th. That would be a week from today. And that's going to be held at Tuscarora Golf Club in Marcellus, the actual championship. So you can get qualifying sites and register online for that one. $100 entry fee at New York State Golf Association's website at nysga.org. And I should tell you that our buddy Josh Chassain, who was up here a couple weeks ago from Lions, played today at the U.S. Junior Am qualifier in Batavia and did pretty well. 36-hole event. He was 4 over first round, 3 over second round for a total of 7 over, tied for 7th. Not quite good enough to make the cut, but played pretty well. That's a pretty elite field of you got your Gavin Thompsons and your all the. I don't know who the juniors are. The kid from Pittsford that's in like 9th grade.
That's the Thompson kid.
Yeah. A Will Thompson. Will Thompson.
Yep.
He's a stick. He can hit it long.
Yeah, and although they did back down from us, Rhett. We challenged him a match, and we just can't seem to line it up. Him and Zach Young.
Coach Young's got to step up there.
The Central New York PGA this week's was at Shenandoah today for the Towsley Pro-Am. We'll have results next week. And next Monday, that tour moves to Cannon Valley in Oneida for the Pro Lady Championship. Scratch Series at Seneca Falls Country Club. The 2-man scramble is this Sunday, June 28th at 1 o'clock. More information at SenecaFallsCountryClub.com. Or to sign up, call 315-568-5202. That's a all-cash scramble, the 2-man summer scramble, the second event of the Scratch Series at Seneca Falls. The United Way of Wayne County is holding their golf tournament on June 26th. That's a 10 a.m. shotgun start at Victor Hills Golf Club, which isn't in Wayne County, so go figure. They're going to Victor. That's a 4-man scramble, $100 to sign up. Or for more information, call Gene Sorrell at 585-791-3601. The Cracker Box Palace Benefit Tournament is coming up on June 29th at 1 o'clock. Also a 4-man scramble at Sodas Bay Heights. $100 per golfer, $400 per foursome. Crackerboxpalace.org for more information. And still time to sign up for the Dutch Hollow 2-man scramble. Doug, I'd love to see you get back over there and join us at Dutch Hollow for that 2-man. It's the best tournament around. You used to play in it.
I got the dates.
Get a partner. Get over there. We tee off late on Saturdays.
Tigers coming to town. We'll play.
He's got no chance.
Well, you'll have to carry him.
He made me pay the entry fee, though.
Yeah, you'd have to carry him. Well, you can pay the entry fee, but maybe he'll provide transportation.
Who knows? Helicopter back and forth.
Yeah. And then, of course, DutchHollow.com. for more information on that one. They also have some tee times posted already, so they are filling up. Registration is now open for the 2015 Seneca County Chamber Golf Tournament. That's not till Wednesday, August 26th, but registration just opened up. That's going to be at Silver Creek, a 4-person scramble, 11 a.m. shotgun. SenecaChamber.org for more information there. This week's hole-in-one, Sue Whitmore aced the 120-yard 11th at Victor Hills using a 5-iron. Roger Tyler aced the 130-yard second hole at Liverpool with a pitch and wedge. Joshua Clark used a 6-iron to score a hole-in-one on the 162-yard 17th at Blue Heron Hills. Tom Natoli used a 4-iron to ace the 200-yard 10th hole at Mill Creek. Steve Jones hit a 9-wood to score an ace on the 150-yard 15th at Bristol Hills. Ed Ryan used a 7-iron to score a hole-in-one on the 176-yard 17th hole at Ravenwood. Ed Ryan, long ball hitter, apparently. Congratulations to all those golfers on their aces. You have a local ace, send it to us at contact@fingerlakes1.com with the subject line of FLX Golfer. We'll read it on the air. And with that, my friends, we're up to the end of the show, but before we sign off, it's time for our Zen Tip of the Week.
Zen Tip of the Week.
All right, so this week's Zen Tip of the Week. Remember last week, Bob and Rhett, you were here.
Yep.
We talked about watching the players this year, or at the U.S. Open, see how they handled adversity and see their mannerisms and the way they went about things and what you could learn from it. So specifically now I want to ask all you guys about Dustin Johnson's 3-putt. What can he learn from it, and what can we learn from it? It's not really a tip, more than just a continued conversation about, because, you know, Dustin Johnson could putt that 50 times in a row and 2-putt it, or 1-putt it 49 times probably in a row, you know, just out there in a practice round. But with the whole world watching late on a Sunday night, you know, he 3-jacked it, and Wayne Gretzky was watching.
Well, that's going to be his zen. He gets to go home to Wayne Gretzky's daughter.
To Paulina.
That's his zen.
Yeah, I mean, how bad,
Life goes
how
on.
bad can you choke when you're Paulina Gretzky's
Life goes on.
husband? Or are they married? They're married, right?
Engaged. I
Engaged,
believe.
yeah. I don't know, Doug. You've had a lot of situations where you've had pressure putts and you've made some, you missed some. How do you react to the ones you miss?
Well, it's certainly frustrating, especially you got a 4-footer. You'd like to think you could make, like you just said, 49 out of 50. You know,
Uphill.
somehow you got to get yourself in a positive frame of mind. It's about sometimes the pre-shot routine, just do everything the same way, you know. But you got to understand that those get missed occasionally.
Yeah.
The tour guys have short-term memories. However, he didn't have another hole to play.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so
now he gets to think
if
about
he
it
misses
for
that putt on the 5th hole, we don't talk about it.
right.
Right? But because it's 18 and under the circumstances, it's always going to be discussed. And it's tough. If you know, at the level I've played at, and I've missed some of those, it's frustrating. I can't compare to that level, obviously. You
Well,
know,
it's
Seneca
all
Falls Country
kind of
Club-
relative.
Club
If you're in a
Championship
club
is-
championship final
Yeah.
match, that's our major.
It is.
It's they're used to their type of pressure.
Yes.
And so we're used to our type of pressure.
not
I
something
don't
you
think it's
forget.
that much different.
Correct.
I don't think it's that much
So-
different what Dustin Johnson goes through and what we might go
Right.
during. You know, maybe it's the final match in your 9-hole league,
Yeah.
and you blow it for your partner on the last hole. But
Yep.
that's a great thing about golf. We can all relate.
Yeah.
You know, at some level.
So I know it's tough. I'll get two stories. 1998, I'm playing Steve Hyde in the finals of the club championship. The year that the tornado hit the state fair, right? So I come to 17, I'm 1 down. I'm on the green about 15, 20 feet away. Steve misses the green in a bunker, blasts out to about 30, 40 feet probably. Putts down, misses his par, but he's got a 4. I've got 2 putts to go to the 18th hole. And Red Lorenzetti afterwards said to me, the toughest putt is the 2-putt.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure enough, I leave it 3 foot short. I miss the par putt. Match over.
And everybody's disappointed.
Shake hands and
yeah.
away we go.
Yeah, it's over.
So I didn't get a chance to go to 18, and who knows how that would have turned out anyways. But it's a real life story. It happens, right?
Yeah.
And it was the same type of putt. It was relatively simple, right? But missed it.
You could talk to Adam Scott.
Yeah.
2 years ago at the British.
That's right.
And what did he have? He needed a 2-putt.
Yeah, did he bogey the last 4 holes?
Yeah.
Besides?
Oh, that's true too. He did fold up the 10,
But-
but he had the 2 putts at the end. He still
He
could
still had that one to win the match.
That's interesting. The 2-putt is the hardest because you know what? You've stopped trying to make the
Yes.
first putt, and now you all of a sudden you said, "Geez, it's possible that I could 3-putt this. I
Right.
better be careful."
Typically, you leave them short. I think that putt he had would have got by the hole no matter what. Even if he just nudged it,
Yeah.
it was going to go down there. But it's tough. It's a tough mindset to say, let's nurse this thing maybe and get it in the house.
Yeah, for me, I just I struggle at times with putting, but I always tell myself, I always believe that when I have that putt that I have to make, that I'm going to make it. And even if I have it and miss it, I'm positive I'll make the next one. And I think that's the only way you can approach it. And I think that's what how Dustin Johnson will approach it.
He must be. He must have a very short memory because he's basically blown a major in 4 different ways. So
Yeah.
I mean, he shot an 83 after leading after 54. He
Yeah.
misses 3 putts. He
Right.
He's
rules
getting it all over the
violation.
system. It's Phil
and he double
Mickelson.
bogeyed a hole,
Similar
so.
start to his career. He
Right.
blew tons of majors before he won. Now he's up to 5 major
Yeah.
championships. Should have probably had more, but Johnson, I'm sure, would love to get that first one out of the way.
Yeah.
So I think comparatively, think about Phil Mickelson, a wing foot, right? He blows that one.
Yeah.
Jeff Ogilvy wins. What we forget is that Jeff Ogilvy had the best 72-hole score in that tournament, and so did Jordan Spieth yesterday.
Yeah,
How it got there is immaterial.
right.
Jordan Spieth won. Jeff Ogilvy won.
Yep.
It's a 72-hole event.
A lot of times when you have a big name not pull through at the end, it's like a gift to a guy like Jeff Ogilvy, a guy
Sure.
one-time major winner, and that's it. And,
Yep.
at least this time,
Yeah.
it was Spieth was a beneficiary, and not even Oosthuizen is kind of would fall into that category. Although maybe not. Maybe this guy's going to win a few more major championships before it's over. But Cameron Smith and Brandon Grace were right there.
Right.
Usually, sometimes guys like that are beneficiaries of
Sure.
of a late choke by a bigger name. So
Brandon Grace took care of himself on that second to last hole.
Yeah. Well,
It was great to see all those big names though be in it. It was just awesome to watch that.
Yeah,
I
and
haven't had an ending like that in a major in a while.
and that's the saving grace for Chambers Bay. It really did produce a lot of drama
Yeah. Yep.
and a lot of discussion. And a great champion in the end. So, well, fellas, I really appreciate y'all coming in and talking golf for the past hour and 10 minutes or so. Going over a little bit. There certainly was a lot to golf to talk about. We could probably talk about it for another hour, but probably should head home, huh? And thanks to everybody for hanging out with us. Remember to subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher.com. Also on the on YouTube, click that red button below. Give us a little thumbs up if you like the video. Email us at contact@fingerlakes1.com with the subject line FLX Golfer. Send us photos, videos, links to equipment, event notifications, tournament flyers. We want to hear from you. We want to promote your events and see what's going on around the Finger Lakes on golf courses across the Finger Lakes. We're online at fingerlakes1.tv/golfpod. And we hope you had a great time. This was episode 28. We'll be back next Monday, as usual, for episode number 29 at 9 o'clock. So until then, everybody, hold on a second here. Got to get out of here right. Until then, everybody. Hear the music now? Hit 'em long, not often.
Support great local content like this by becoming a patron of FingerLakes1.com. Visit patreon.com/FL1.
FingerLakes1.com